Hey everybody, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday, you guys. It is so nice to have you back for another episode. Let me grab my guest right now. Hang tight. Okay.
Hello.
Hey Kat, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the show. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, for sure. So Kat, I created the show back in March when COVID shut the world down. And I wanted people to have a place that they can turn to every week for some hope and inspiration and joy and fun. And you are somebody who brings all of that. So thank you.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
Yes, you have a lot of excited fans here. So guys, if you have any questions for Kat, leave them in the comment section and I will ask a couple as the interview. Yes, thank you for that. As the interview goes along. But Kat, I have a lot to get to, so I'm going to dive in.
Let's dive in.
All right, so first off, I have to tell you that you are a total badass. So you graduated high school, correct me if I'm wrong, at 14, college at 17,
Yes.
and you thought you were going to pursue a career in economics and or finance, and cut to today, you are literally one of the most internationally beloved actresses ever. So how did this all happen for you?
You know, I always say that I kind of fell into it backwards. I wanted to go into developmental economics originally, and I thought I was the black sheep of my family then because everyone in my family is in science and medicine. But then I'd been dancing ballet my whole life, and I was the kid who would try anything. And I had a friend who was directing a community theater show and needed a dancer. And so I said, well, sure, I'll spend the summer trying something new and seeing how that goes. And I fell in love with it. And I had one of those rare moments of clarity the moment I stepped on stage and I went, oh, no, no, I have to tell stories for the rest of my life. And here I am.
Wow. And I love that because you were open and you took a chance that summer and said, "Yeah, I'll do it. Why not?" It led you to finding what you love. I mean, that's so cool.
Well, thank you. That's kind of been the whole course of my career and my life has kind of been going, well, this opportunity has arisen, and if I don't give it a chance, I'll never know.
I mean, that's a lesson that everyone tuning in has to remember. You have to take a chance. I love that so much. And you have gained, I see a lot of your Shadowhunters fans here today. I see the hashtag Shadow fan popping up.
Yeah.
And you gained a massive, massive following through this show, through playing Clary. So how did the opportunity to join the show come up for you? And what was that audition process like?
It was a very long audition process, but rightly so, because the heart of the story of the Mortal Instruments is in the characters. And, you know, I give Freeform so much credit because they took a lot of time trying to cast it correctly. And, you know, being a fan of the books myself, I can speak to the rest of the cast and say that it was cast so well and everybody really brought their heart and soul to every character. But when I first read the script for the pilot, it was really interesting because I'd never connected to a character that much before. I immediately knew what I wanted to do with her, and I kind of saw her journey, and I saw the potential in it, and immediately just fell in love with the world. So was so happy to have had it all come to fruition in the end.
And you did such an amazing job playing a character that maybe presumably had a fan base, right, from the books, but you stepped in and you made her your own. Were you nervous? Were you like, oh my God, this is a huge undertaking? What was playing that role like?
100%. Yeah. You know, I grew up reading YA books and I'm a huge fan of the genre. So I understand the attachment that people have to these characters and how much they mean to people. And so I didn't take that responsibility lightly in any sense. But, you know, I read the whole series and really took care to kind of see why people attach to Clary and also to respect the changes that we made in order to make it into a series, which sort of allowed all of us creative freedom. But I'm so grateful to the Shadow fam because they took those changes in stride and they welcomed each and every one of us with open arms, and it's just been the most positive experience, and I've fallen in love with the community, so I'm here.
Oh, I love that. And what was it like playing this character? She's such a great role.
It was amazing. I feel as though my journey as a human being sort of paralleled her journey in the show. I was 19 when I was cast as Clary, and you know, Clary's a young girl who's thrown into a brand new world, having to form a family and sort of trial by fire figure out how to be a leader in that sense. And I felt very similarly. You know, I was the youngest person on the main cast, carrying the show, doing all of this, and forming a family. And I was so lucky to be surrounded by an incredible cast and crew and creative team that made going to work every day feel like family. So I really grew up while I was filming that show.
That's such a cool thing to tie to that experience. You'll never forget that.
Never.
That's amazing. And Lisa wants to know, what were some of your favorite memories from the show?
I could write a book series full of memories. I mean, truly, everybody says this about every TV show. Oh, we're such a family, this, that, and the other. But we truly are. And I feel as though I have a family of big brothers that took care of me and kind of raised me in a sense and corrupted me just the right amount during the process. But just the number of memories that we made as a cast, both on and off set, are something that I'll carry with me forever. You know, our last day of filming was so indicative of that. We had this big wedding scene in the last episode where pretty much every character makes an appearance, so kind of everybody was there, even if they hadn't been on the show for a while, and a lot of our writers came up, and we had a huge assembly of people. And as soon as we were done shooting, we had our wrap party in the studio, and it sort of felt like the senior class had taken over the high school for the day. Everybody was, you know, grabbing bottles of champagne and running into different sets and hanging out, and everybody stayed all night. We wrapped it maybe just after midnight, and I didn't leave the studio till 7 a.m.
Wow.
And we just kind of celebrated and gave the show its proper send-off as a family, and that was just the best way to sort of end it all.
And it shows when people watch the show and they're commenting this, that they could tell you guys are close. And I had Dom Sherwood came on the show, and he said the same thing. He's like, I love Kat, they're family, she's my girl. Like, you could tell you guys are really close.
Yeah, no, I knew Dom before the show as well. So the fact that, you know, we got to go through this whole process together, and having somebody that the ice was already broken with, that I was able to share that journey with, it was so special.
Did he get to watch your audition?
I actually did chemistry tests with Dom because he was
did.
And I'll never forget, I'd never heard Dom do an American accent before. And he didn't tell me he was going to do an American accent. So when he started the scene, I was kind of thrown by it. And thank goodness it was a scene where I was supposed to be a little befuddled. But yeah, we got to chemistry test together, which I think was such a gift for me, because the ice was already broken, and I could be so comfortable and just play and have that inherent trust already when you know, for a scene partner.
Yeah, that's a special thing for sure. This show, I mean, the fandom is amazing. And yes, there's the book series, which we all know about, but I would argue it's up to you guys in the cast to keep people interested and coming back for more. And you did that in such a big way. So what is it about this show, do you think, made such quick fandom happen in a span of years?
Well, something that I give the fandom such credit for is the fact that they've taken their community beyond the show, beyond the characters, and beyond any of us. And it's about each other, and they're there to support each other. And, you know, the show inherently, the message of Shadowhunters in the end is that love is stronger than anything, and love will make you stronger. And no matter whether you have angelic blood or demonic blood or whatever you are, whoever you are, whatever you were born as, it's the choices that you make that determine whether or not you're a hero. And it's the people that love you and the people you love that will carry you through all of the hardships along that journey. And I think the fandom really took to that, and that's sort of what people attach to in the show. That's what all of us as actors attach to in playing these characters. And that message is something that really speaks to the world even now.
Yeah, more than ever now. I've seen a lot of people saying they've been streaming it and watching it during quarantine, which is awesome.
It's so great, and so many people are discovering the show that have never watched it before. And it's I love watching people go through the journey of seeing the show, and I've tuned into a couple of the fan group rewatches as well, and it's just so fun to relive those memories.
Oh, I bet. And I give you guys so much credit because so much happens in the course of one episode, let alone an entire season, right? And you guys are putting in the work, and especially you now. I think I read that you ended up doing a lot of your own stunts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is so cool, and that's a lot of work in itself. So what would you say was one of your most challenging scenes to film? And then on the flip side, what was kind of one of the most like warm and fuzzy and gratifying scenes to film? Or maybe it's both.
It actually really is one and the same. Well, I can talk about two if you like.
Yes.
But the one that was probably the most difficult, but to this day one of my favorites, was in our finale of season 2. We tackled one of the biggest pinnacles of one of the books, where it's this big battle between, you know, myself and Alan Van Sprang, who played my father, and Dom Sherwood. And the three of us had, you know, there was a fight scene, and Dom and I were crying for most of it, and just all of the ups and downs. And of course, it happened to pour rain that day, and so we were supposed to be fighting on grass, which then turned to mud. So I was just covered from head to toe. Dom was laying in wet mud. I was sitting in it all day long. But I thank our crew so much, and our stunt choreographers and everyone involved in that episode, because they created a space for us where we were able to just lock into these characters that we had been building up to, in this moment that we'd been building up to for 2 seasons. And it's that little bit of magic that only happens occasionally on a set, where you are fully in it. And we spent all night, 2 nights, filming this scene. And it was one of my favorite scenes in the book as well. It just turned out so wonderfully. And it's that little bit of magic that gets captured when you really have become a cohesive unit. And the stunt coordinators are the whole reason that I was able to do my own stunts and my own fighting. When I started this job, I didn't know how to throw a punch. I didn't know how to hold a sword. I didn't know anything. And they trained me, and Dom as well, actually, but they trained us 3 to 5 times a week. We were in the stunt room with them, and they took the time out of their schedule to work with us to the point where we were able to do the majority of our own stunts and fighting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But also you probably were interested in doing that, right? Like you were, I mean, it seems like you were in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the physicality of a character in that sense, and the way they fight is such a huge part of it. And that's something that our stunt coordinator, Darren McGuire, really, really took to heart, which I give him so much credit and all the accolades for, because that's why our fights were so special. The way that every creature moved was different. The way that every character fought was specific to who they are as a being. And every fight was a story. It was almost like a ballet in that sense, in that he really thought through the motivations of the characters and what was going on in the story when he was creating the journey of the fight. So it was a story within a story within a story, and it made everything mean so much more.
Yeah, and I think you're giving a new perspective for people to go back and rewatch, because if you look at it like that, it's so much more complex than just what you see, right?
Exactly.
That is so cool. And you know, the show touches on many important topics too, like race relations and sexuality, and that's just touching the surface, right? It goes much deeper than that as well. And I think that's so cool that you guys were able to put out messages to a really large youth following that they don't always get to see topics like that being discussed. So as a member of the cast, what did it mean to you to be able to be part of that messaging to everybody?
It meant the world to me. I mean, I've watched so many of my friends and family struggle with all of those topics and all of those they're growing up and trying to figure out their place in the world and where they fit and who they are, and finding how to follow their heart in a world that isn't always open to it. And the fact that we were able to show so many different aspects and so many different relationships. I mean, the fact that our most beloved ship is an 800-year-old bisexual warlock with a 20-something Shadowhunter, it's amazing. And the fact that, their love story was told with such nuance and such depth. And I give Matt and Harry and the writers so much credit for that. I watched them for years work so hard and discuss and really think it through to try and create the most authentic version of that story that they could. And that's what made it so special. And we all did that in our own way, but it's a story that's so important to so many people. And that's why I love going to do these Comic-Cons, because I get a chance to really connect with the Shadow fam and to talk to them and hear their stories and all of the amazing things that they've done, and that our story has been just a tiny part of their own stories. And it's really, really special to me.
It makes me so happy to see things like that, for all those issues to be addressed. But especially, I mean, I'm a married man, I have a husband, and I never thought I would see things like that being told. I never did as a kid, right? I'm 34. I never saw that as a kid. And to know that this generation is getting to see that, like, it just warms my heart so much. I love that. It's amazing, amazing. We have a fan question that just came in, and actually, I won't lie, I've seen this question pop up like 400 times.
Okay.
So I have to ask, would you ever be open to reprising your role in Shadowhunters?
I would love nothing more. I mean, truly, there's so much more we wanted to do with the show and so many things we were planning. And we all are still in touch. And, you know, COVID aside, usually see each other on a regular basis. And I would love nothing more than to get the family back together again and do some sort of reunion, whether it's next year or in 5 years or 10 years or 20. I'm in. If you need Clary Frey, I'm here.
You're in. People love it. I just saw Netflix movie ? Come up.
I'm in. Let's do it.
All right, come on, people, write the scripts. We got this. And it's so cool because I associate you with being one of the leading actors in Hollywood, really paving the way for these like female action hero, you know, characters to be put out there. And I think Hollywood's gotten better with making opportunities for these strong, well-rounded roles, but you're definitely someone who paved the way on that. So what does that mean to you to know, like, okay, I'm putting out there what some female roles should be?
Well, thank you for saying that. You're too kind. I'm just really grateful to have had the opportunity to play roles like this. And, you know, because growing up as a kid, again, I didn't see a ton of really strong, empowered, complex,
right,
and let alone that fought their own battle. But, you know, with the last probably 10 years or so, we've seen this huge resurgence of an effort to make roles of all, you know, neglected and marginalized communities have really strong, complex stories being told about them, and real stories that, you know, otherwise the light has not been shed on and the perspective has not been shown. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of it, and, you know, to be among the ranks of all these incredible actors and actresses who are bringing these stories to light. And, you know, we're seeing it more and more, literally every project that comes out. And it's well timed for that. So I'm thrilled.
Yeah, it's a cool thing to see right now more than ever. I love seeing all the different roles coming out and being like, yes, we've needed that forever. I love it.
100%. I mean, that's what, to me, being an artist is all about, and being a storyteller is holding up a mirror to the human experience and sort of shining a light on all perspectives and all aspects of humanity, good, bad, or ugly, and just forcing people to think about, you know, their own life and their own perspectives and sort of the way in which they view the world.
And from one show with a massive following to another, which is Arrow. I see a lot of Arrow fans in here too. How was that experience? I mean, you were part of both of these shows in a relatively short amount of time, I want to say, and the fandom on both ends is crazy.
It was no less nerve-wracking jumping into Arrow.
Really?
Well, when I first auditioned, I had no idea that I was auditioning for the Felicity baby. It had just been, because they were trying to keep the role really under wraps, given the fact that, you know, the relationship of Oliver and Felicity was so beloved on the show. They wanted it to be a surprise that they were bringing in their daughter. So I knew the sides were for a rookie cop, I think, that had a dark past. And so I was completely in one direction, being like, okay, so I'm going to start researching, you know, the sort of training that cops do and what they go through and the kind of education that they're getting and sort of what that perspective is. Then I get a call from the showrunner going, hey, congrats, we're so happy to have you on the show. By the way, you're playing Oliver and Felicity's daughter, and she's a cage fighter. And I'm like, wait. What is happening? What's going on? And I couldn't even breathe because I knew how much the fans cared about this relationship. But it's a huge honor, you know, and they did so right by Mia in the way they wrote her and everything they did on her story. And I'm just so thrilled to have been a part of it.
And what was your favorite part working on Arrow and with your story, your character's storyline?
I had a lot of fun both working with Emily and Steven because I had watched through the entire series to sort of pull any little mannerisms or character qualities or anything I could from each of them to create a kid that was sort of the amalgamation of their best and worst qualities. But then getting to have a lot of scenes with each of them, it brought out different aspects of Mia. And so it was really interesting to see that interaction. But I had a lot of fun during the crossover. You know, I mean, there's few moments in an acting career where you kind of have to pinch yourself and go, okay, this is kind of cool. But when you're on set, in a super suit with your superhero dad in a matching suit, and there's a couple of Supermen and Batwoman and Supergirl and White Canary and the Flash and all these amazing literal superheroes. It's really insanely cool, and I just I just gotta have to pinch myself.
Yeah, that's such an amazing moment. And Emily wanted to know, did you always dream of playing superheroes, or like did this just kind of come up for you to be an action star?
It really just happened. I sort of fell into it. It started with Maze Runner, and then I went straight into Shadowhunters, and then into Arrow. But again, it speaks to the sort of trends of what female roles are becoming. But when I started in this industry, I made a promise to myself that I didn't want to get stuck in one realm or one medium or one genre. I sort of want to do everything. I want to do a good horror movie. I want to do a period piece in a corset and a hoop skirt. I want to do a musical. I want to go back and do all of every different genre and play every kind of character and live a million different lives.
Yeah, and you will. A lot of people look forward to all of that happening as well. And let me take another fan question. I think Emily asked this, but I'm sorry, it goes by so fast, you guys. Emily wanted to know Clary versus Mia. Who would win in like an all-out smackdown?
Okay, I get asked this question a lot. And I think it depends on what rules you go by. Because technically, if you go by strictly fighting technique and their skills as a fighter, Mia would wipe the floor with Clary. I mean, she's been a fighter her whole life. But because Clary's a shadow hunter and has her superhuman abilities, I think she'd stand a chance if magic is involved. So it depends on what rules we're playing by here.
Okay, all right. Somebody asked if you'll play both in a show. You never know.
I always used to joke about a Shadowhunters Supernatural crossover, but I think a Shadow Arrow crossover would be awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people are here for that. Sign everybody up. And, aside from all your great work, I love that you put out messages that matter. And you've talked about, the importance of positivity, and that you've been through things in your own life and you've chosen and made the decision to not focus on the negative and focus more so on that positive. So talk to me more about this.
Yeah, I mean, everybody goes through tough times in their life. And I went through a myriad of things. And I got to a point where I had a choice. And I could either choose to let that dark thing define me and to let that take over who I am and to wallow in it, or I could choose to learn from it and use it as a tool to move through it and to make it through the tunnel into the light on the other side and become stronger because of it. And I was lucky enough to be surrounded by, my mom and my friends and incredible people who helped me to make that choice. And I've never regretted it. And that's why I am so adamant about little things like Monday motivation and trying to find the silver lining in every situation, much to the chagrin of my friends at times. But I'm always that person, because if there's anything I've learned in life, in work, in everything, it's that if you make the choice to look for the silver lining and to see the positivity in a situation, it will become a habit. And then that will be this perspective that colors any situation you go through.
100%. It's amazing what doing that kind of opens you up to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool. A lot of your younger fans are saying, oh my God, I needed to hear that today. Thank you.
We all need to hear that this year. It's.
Yeah, I'm based in New York, and we went through the whole epicenter thing months ago, and let me tell you, that was crazy.
I bet.
Yeah. So we have to just stay positive and focused. And like you said, it's a choice you make, which I think you couldn't put that more beautifully. You make the decision to focus on the good. Love it, love it, love it. And okay, this is a question I've wanted to ask you too. If you were a shadow hunter in real life, like Kat the Shadow Hunter, what, demon or negative thing or emotion or feeling would you choose to ban and say no more?
I think loneliness, honestly. That's something that a lot of us, I've been quarantining on my own this year. So for a good amount of time, I was by myself and I didn't see anybody if it wasn't, on a screen of some sort for almost 100 days. And it was not easy. I'm very much a social human being. I thrive on human interaction, and I get very lonely very quickly. And I think a lot of people have experienced that this year, and it's not an easy thing to go through, and it's not something I think anyone should have to go through.
Right, right. No, I couldn't agree more. It's tough. It's very tough. A lot of people are in the same boat. You know what? I'm with you. We're going to ban that.
All right. I think
We're,
that's great.
we're done with it.
Yeah, but something that this year has shown me is that the minute you reach out to somebody, it's like instantaneously you don't feel alone, because especially this year, the one thing is that everyone is going through the same thing. We are living this together, even if we're not in the same space.
100%. So how are you practicing self-care during all of this? I know you do Monday Motivation and you uplift so many of your fans, but how are you practicing self-care?
I am trying to maintain some semblance of motivation and progress and proactivity. I built a treadmill in my first week of quarantine, and I've been trying to stay active, and the trails opened up here, so I'm going hiking and seeing friends on social distant hikes and things. But it's mostly been that, and just trying to turn into the skid, as it were. I've been sitting out in the sun. I've been reading more and catching up with family. We have bi-weekly Zoom family reunions now, which I haven't seen some of my family in years in that sense, and spent that much time with them. So it's been a really great time of self-reflection and reconnecting with people, and just resetting. Yeah, I'm very much a workaholic, and I don't take a lot of time for myself, and this has made me learn to appreciate that.
Yeah, and a lot of your fans are saying they're with you on that, and they love seeing your fitness motivation stuff. I'm a fitness guy too. I love it. It's like been my therapy. I always say I don't meditate per se, like traditional meditation, but fitness for me is my meditation.
Yes, I am the exact same way.
Yeah, it's the best. And also baking. I like to bake.
Me too.
Ooh, what are you making? What are you whipping up these days?
Well, my specialty is oatmeal butterscotch cookies. So I used that as an excuse at the beginning of quarantine. I baked a bunch of cookies because I needed it's a relaxing thing for me. And then I took little bags and delivered them at the end of my friends' driveways, just to wave and to have a little care package and a little something sweet.
I love that. My like signature is I make an almond butter chocolate chip cookie.
Oh my goodness.
I'll send you the recipe. It's to die for. No flour, no sugar added. Amazing.
That sounds incredible.
I'll hook you up. I got you. Really, really good. And lastly, well, let me get one more fan question because I see they're very excited. What excites you for the future? What do you want to do? Like one of the first things you want to do? Will you do anything more with the CW? And I missed the rest of it.
More with the CW. I had a great time working with them, and whether or not Green Arrow and the Canaries goes forward, I'm not done with Mia Smoke. So if her back, she can go play in the crossovers. If there's another crisis, I'm there. But I think the thing I'm most excited for is traveling. Once the world opens back up again, I have friends, in different parts of the world that I haven't seen. My best friend lives in London, and I haven't seen him in 8 months. So it's one of those things that I want an adventure, and I want to go explore, and I want to eat different foods and see different places and climb another mountain and take pictures and do all of that. It's such a learning experience, and it's soul food for me, and I miss it. So that'll be the first thing I do.
I'm with you, right there with you. I might see you on the plane.
I love
it. And lastly,
in a mask and goggles and all that, but
all of it. But we're good. I'll bring the big thing of Lysol wipes. I got you.
I love it.
And Kat, lastly, I love asking this question to people who I think truly appreciate it. You have lived a very colorful life. You've had so much success. You've had so many highs. Presumably, you've had some lows like we all have had. What advice would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to take a breath and know that it's all going to work out, and it's all going to be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. And just hang on. You're going to be fine if you just stay the course.
I needed to take that in a minute. It's something we all have to remember. I love that. Kat, thank you so much. I want to give you the floor for a second for your fans because they are dying to say hello. So is there anything you want to say to your amazing fans before we head out?
I just truly have to say the biggest thank you. They have been there through so many different projects and different fandoms, and it's amazing to see where the crossovers are and to watch people discover new stories and grow in their lives. You know, going and doing these Comic-Cons, I've met so many incredible people and learned so much, and I am eternally grateful and eternally astounded every day by their hearts and their souls and their kindness and generosity to us and to each other. And it's the most heartwarming thing to see. So thank you for all you guys do and for all of the love that you put out in the world.
Well, on that note, thank you for joining the show. I could talk to you for like the next 20 hours. I had so much fun.
Well, let's catch up again soon.
Yes, I hope so. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we're going to exchange recipes.
I love it. You too. Talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.